Hello everyone, welcome back to Into Sports. I'm your host Evan. Today we're talking quarterbacks. I have my quarterback rankings based off the film, not stats, not wins. I watch the film, analyze these guys. I'll put them into tiers. Before we start, please subscribe if you haven't already. But now let's get into it. With our first tier, these guys I see as backup caliber. And I'm using last year's pictures to show you the turnover at the quarterback position. We see Kyle Allen in a different jersey, Nick Foles in a different jersey. And what I'm telling you with these rankings is the Bears, Chargers, and the Washington football team do not have quarterbacks I deem as a starter level. Washington football team, Haskins, Kyle Allen, Nick Foles, Trubisky for the Bears, and Chargers, Tyrod Taylor, Justin Herbert. I think for the Chargers, Tyrod Taylor should be the starter day one. He wasn't very good in Cleveland, but he was pretty good in Buffalo a few years back, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt over Justin Herbert. And Washington football team-wise, that feels weird to say, I'm not giving up on Dwayne Haskins, who I liked a lot, coming into the NFL, but I put Brissett above him because I think Brissett makes a lot of good plays. Now he's the Colts backup. Last year was the Colts starter. Okay, here's our next tier. We have the low-end starters. These are guys, some of these guys are backups. Dalton, Winston, those are backups. But I think these guys are capable of being a starter. Now, you look at that list and Jared Goff's a bit low. Now, Jared Goff doesn't make a lot of plays outside of the system. Sean McVay, his coach, takes easy completions, puts them on a plate, and serves them to Jared Goff. And sometimes he even misses those easy completions. And he's much better on his first read. This is a guy that's very reliant on the system. That's why he's at 27. Dalton, they're at 32. Definitely a downgrade from Dak Prescott. For those of you wondering, he is the Cowboys' backup now. But if the Cowboys, they would still be fine with Dalton, but they'd definitely be a few points per game worse without their star quarterback, Dak. Now, Jameis Winston's a fascinating story. He's at 28. I still think he's a starter. There's so many eye-opening plays in a positive way, but there's also so many eye-opening plays in a negative way. You get a lot of great, you get a lot of terrible with Jameis Winston. I would like to see him speed up his throwing motion a little bit. I think that would help him out a lot. A lot of interceptions on short throws when he should be getting out quick. We see a rookie on that list, Tua Tagovailoa. Anticipation, footwork, decision-making, that's what Tua is all about. He has all of the intangibles. He reminds me of Drew Brees in that way. I expect him to be very good in the NFL. Doesn't have that elite arm. Doesn't make it. His athleticism, some people think it's great. Some people think it's terrible. I think it's right in the middle. I think he's a decent athlete. Not a great one. Not Russell Wilson level. I think Drew Brees is a good comp for him. And Teddy Bridgewater, we have on here. Carolina Panthers, new starter. Best throwing to the middle of the field. Doesn't attack down the field much, but he also doesn't make a lot of mistakes, not a lot of turnover-worthy plays. He's a good athlete. You can win games with him, but you have to surround him with a lot of talent. Next here, let me address the elephant in the room. Tom Brady. I even look at this list with Tom Brady at 20, and I think I have to move him up. But I watched 4 games with Brady, just like I did with everyone else, and I gave him my grade. And then a week later, I look back at my notes and I see I gave Tom Brady a worse grade than Jimmy Garoppolo? No. So then I watched 2 more games. And then after I watched those games, I think, well, my grade was pretty good. I would agree with that again. And then a few weeks later, I look at the list again and I laugh to myself. You have Tom Brady at 20th? The 20th best quarterback in football? So I watched 2 more games. And then I'm like, he is the 20th best quarterback in football. Why is he the 20th best quarterback in football? Many of you would put him in the 3rd tier, 4th tier. I have him in the 5th tier. Well, he deteriorated at the end of the year. At the start of the year, first few weeks, he was as good as anyone in football. As good as Mahomes, as good as Brees, as good as Wilson. He was right up there. It was phenomenal. But at the end of the year, it was more in line with what you'd see from Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then second of all, I picked Tom Brady to win the MVP. Why? Because he has great surroundings in Tampa. With great surroundings, when he's able to be in rhythm, on time, easier throws, good play caller, he's going to be great. But if you put bad surroundings, around him, if you give him Sam Darnold's offensive line, he can't move. He's going to get sacked 5 times a game and have to throw the ball away 12 times a game. And just not going to be good in any way. And you're telling me he's had a bad supporting cast last year? I give you a top 10 offensive line, which he desperately needs because he's the least mobile quarterback in the league. And something I noticed when I'm watching these guys, play caller is a massive, massive factor. And Tom Brady had Josh McDaniels, who's one of the top offensive play callers in the sport. So he was able to cash in on a lot of easy completions based off the scheme. I think that's something that has been undersold a little bit. But Tom Brady's going to have really good surroundings, so I think he's going to win MVP despite being 20 on my list. What else do we see here? We see Drew Lock at 22. This guy, I think he's going to be in my top 10 quarterbacks at the end of next year. That's bold. I know. He's at 22 right now. I can't put him there. Decision making. Missed a lot of throws down the field. But he has ability that I see and throws that I see Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers make. What do I mean by that? He can just sit in the pocket and not have his feet, just have his feet any which way, not even move them, and he can make 30-yard throws down the field and throw laser beams. Those are Mahomes-Rodgers things. This guy, he has a lot of upside, decision-making, downfield accuracy. That's what he needs to clean up. Baker Mayfield, one spot below Tom Brady. Last year, it wasn't that bad. The struggles, I think, were a little bit over talked about, over hyped. I think a lot of the deal last year with Freddie Kitchens, the play caller, wasn't good at all. Mayfield, he was surprisingly good on the move. Now, the thing I worry about with Mayfield is the pocket presence. His offensive line was so bad last year that even if the pocket was clean, he got into a habit of just running away because he thinks he's going to get sacked even when the pocket is clean. So he needs to stay in the pocket a little bit longer. Joe Burrow, he's at 17. That's pretty high for a rookie. I look at the last few rookies, Mayfield, Kyler Murray, where I had them after year one. This is where I expect Joe Burrow to be at the end of the year. His comparison in the NFL, it's easy. Matt Ryan. He lives under pressure. Not a great arm at all. But decision making, ability to process and read, really good downfield touch and accuracy. Joe Burrow is Matt Ryan. I expect a similar career trajectory out of the first pick from LSU. I expect a good year for Joe Burrow. Now we go into the tier 4. The guy I mentioned a second ago, Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Josh Allen. I was wrong on Josh Allen. I thought he was terrible, one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, wildly inaccurate. But actually, I saw a guy that was very accurate. 0 to 20 yards down the field. Now the negative is he couldn't hit anything past 20 yards. This is why having a great arm doesn't equal good downfield passer. They're not that related. Josh Allen, probably the best arm in the league. Very mobile, very athletic, big, tall, strong. Now we go to 15. I've heard people say Derek Carr is a statue. Actually, he's one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the sport. I know it's surprising. Surprised me a little bit too. I've heard people say Derek Carr has a noodle arm. No, he has a good arm. I've heard people say he can't throw the ball down the field. Actually, when he does throw the ball down the field, he's pretty good at it. He just doesn't do it all that much. I think Derek Carr at 15, I know I have him over Tom Brady, but physically, he's much better at this point in their careers. Kyler Murray, the second most talented quarterback in the league, behind only a guy we'll talk about in tier 1. 4.3 speed, that's the speed of Lamar Jackson. Great arm, he can throw it every which way. I'm talking sidearm, moving left, moving right, off the back foot. This guy makes eye-popping throws. A lot of them. But his down-to-down accuracy really wasn't as good as I expected. Too many missed throws. But this guy's ceiling is outer space. Kyler Murray, we could see, he could be an all-time great. Yeah, I just said that. Now we're going to tier 3, the great starters with a few all-time greats, starting with Big Ben. At 13, I worry with Big Ben about an injury. Tommy John, surgery he had in the offseason. ligaments torn off the bone in his elbow. How is he really going to throw the football first few weeks this year? Based off what I've seen in the past, especially 2 years ago, Roethlisberger makes so many plays, scrambles around, buys time, keeps his eyes downfield. He's so good at that part. Dak Prescott, 12. This was one of the most difficult evaluations for me personally. He has all the traits, but I worry about a few things. First off, anticipation. It was a little bit of an issue. Sees a receiver at the top of his break, about to flash wide open, and he stands there and takes an extra hitch and doesn't throw the football. Just let it rip. I want to see Dak let it rip a little bit more. I want to see him play more fearlessly. He was much better on his first read when he's on time, in rhythm. When he had to go to progress through reads 2 and 3, definitely was not as good. Kirk Cousins at 11. He's very heavily criticized, but this guy is a great downfield thrower with touch and accuracy, and he's sneaky great on the move, out of the pocket. That was something that really surprised me and caught my eye. Cousins out of the pocket, making plays, extending them actually. We think about another guy who's been called a statue. Cousins, surprising amount of ad-libbing and making plays outside the pocket. Number 10, Ryan Tannehill. This time last year, I would not have thought I'd be saying that. Putting him in the tier 3 with Drew Brees, Matt Ryan. It's happening. Yeah, he was phenomenal last year. He has a beautiful touch, and this guy's very underrated athletic. He played wide receiver in college for an SEC school, Texas A&M. Then he transitioned to quarterback. Athletic, phenomenal touch down the field, great out of play action. Tannehill was really great last year. I don't think it was a mirage. People say Derrick Henry was the reason. Derrick Henry helped set up the play action game, but Ryan Tannehill took every yard out on the football field. Number 9, Matt Ryan. This guy lived under pressure last year. Like I mentioned, he's Joe Burrow. Doesn't have that great arm, but he's great at processing and reading the defense. Good touch down the field. He didn't have the luxury of many clean pockets. He did hold onto the ball a little bit too long, especially with a bad offensive line. I want to see him get it out more quick. Number 8, we have Carson Wentz. This is a guy with great physical tools, but he missed a lot of open receivers, something I did not expect at all. Doesn't have a great touch. He always opts for that driver instead of hitting that 6-iron, just loft it up, drop it in the bucket. He doesn't do that. He just tries to throw a laser down the field. Like to see him use touch a little bit more on his throws. Matt Stafford, a guy that made a lot of great touch throws down the field. It was phenomenal out of Matt Stafford last year. He has great escapability. Obviously, we know sidearm. This guy, one of the great arm talents. He can throw it every which way. But the problem was he was a little bit careless at times for me, trying to make a miracle play, throwing into double, triple teams down the field. I got great throws, and I got a few throws where I'm scratching my head, sitting there like, why? But that's Matt Stafford. Drew Brees, number 6. Footwork, decision-making, accuracy, similar to Tua in that way. So many great throws, 10 to 20 yards down the field. I think that's his best zone on the field. But the problem is he can't take advantage of receivers running open down the field. Now he has that anticipation to make up for the lack of the arm strength, throw it early instead of fast. But that doesn't make up for it all the way, because if there's a guy in his face and he has to throw a laser 20 yards down the field, can't step into throw, he just can't do that. Carson Wentz, I think, could do that. But also, I'm not sure if Carson Wentz is going to even throw the throw accurately, so that's why I have Brees ahead of Wentz. Now, we're going into tier 2. These are almost the best. These guys are just a little bit away from these top 2 guys. Lamar Jackson. Yep, I compared him to Russell Westbrook. And we know the rushing ability with Lamar Jackson. It was a breakout year. Did not expect this at all. Everyone, mostly consensus, had him as 27th, 28th, 29th best quarterback going into the year, and now he lands at 5. This is why I wonder, who's going to make that jump from tier 7, tier 6, tier 5 to the tier 2, to the tier 1. That's why I threw Drew Lock out as a possibility. But unlike a Tebow or a RG3, a guy that's known as a rushing quarterback, Lamar Jackson isn't a one read and go guy. He goes through read 1, read 2, read 3, read 4, and then if nobody's open, then he runs out of the pocket. He's not eager to use his legs, although when he does, he's great at it. And he made quite a few big-time throws last year. That's what really surprised me. Now, the negative is that he missed a lot of throws, especially in that 15 to 25-yard range. Made a lot of great throws, missed some throws, but he didn't make a lot of bad throws, turnover-worthy throws. Some missed throws, didn't throw it to the defense, not a lot of terrible decisions. But I'd like to see him rip it a little bit more, be a little bit more fearless, like I mentioned with Dak. Because he has that arm, he has that ability to make some big throws 25, 30 yards down the field. Number 4, Aaron Rodgers. Feel bad putting him this low, actually. This is potentially the greatest quarterback in the history of the sport. First I'll start with of my lifetime, because obviously I didn't watch Dan Marino, Joe Montana, those kind of guys. But Aaron Rodgers, so great out of the pocket. I actually thought he was better outside the pocket than inside the pocket, just standing behind the offensive line. He can throw rockets off his back foot, like I mentioned with Drew Lock. The footwork isn't always there. Not like a Drew Brees where he's boom, boom, boom. He just kind of stands back there and throws it every which way out of any kind of feet because he has that arm strength, has that talent to do that. And similar to Lamar Jackson, though, the negative, a lot of 20-yard completions left on the field due to accuracy, something I also really didn't expect. Then we have Deshaun Watson. This guy's the best touch passer in the league. He throws rainbows down the field with massive arc and just drops them right in. He's a very accurate quarterback. He extends so many plays with his legs, more extending to throw than extending to run. Buy time for his offensive line and his receivers. Sometimes he extends plays and he tries to be the hero, treats every play like the last play of the game. That can lead to turnover-worthy plays, which is a knock I have on him. But my 2 big knocks, the reason he's not in that top tier is it's not a great arm, and combined with that, it's not great anticipation. So the windows have to be open just a little bit longer with Deshaun Watson. Unlike with my tier 1 guys, but that's the only thing holding back Watson from being in that first tier. Here we are, the first tier. Number 1, Mahomes. Number 2, Russell Wilson. This is not a 1-2 situation. This is a 1A, 1B. You can put Wilson at 1. You can put them at a tie. You can put Wilson at 2. However you want to do it, that's okay for me because they are right there neck and neck. I think Wilson's a little bit better from a clean pocket, but Mahomes, he has this ability where he backpedals and he runs left and right. And he's, a lot of times he's moving off his back foot. So he's running around backwards, so you can't actually sack him. But he has the power and accuracy to make elite throws. I mean, his power and accuracy is as good running around going off his back foot as a lot of these starter level guys. So, and this is my worry. Last year he broke his kneecap against Denver on a Thursday night football game. So he didn't run around as much in the second half of the year. I want to see if he's healthy because he was much better early on when he really could use his legs because he likes to use them every play. He's basically unsackable when he does that. That's why I have him over Wilson. Now, Wilson is great outside of the pocket as well, but you just can't do that backwards drift and Mahomes kind of caliber throws. Now, Mahomes has much better weapons, but I'm isolating the quarterback's performance. And to me, it's neck and neck, 1A, 1B. Ultimately, I am splitting hairs. Russell Wilson versus Patrick Mahomes, 2 best quarterbacks in football.